Hey guys, welcome into Picks and Parlays. We're coming at you with your NHL preview, everything that you have to know for this NHL season. I'm Jo Madden. I'm joined by Terry Edelmann and Mike Fink. We're going to go over the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference, Stanley Cup odds, player awards, and everything else that you need to know going into the NHL season. Terry, Mike, welcome to the show. Without delay, let's firstly jump into the Stanley Cup odds. The Florida Panthers are the favorite to three-peat here. But is this a two and done kind of honeymoon is over situation? We know the injuries out there for the Florida Panthers this season. Matthew Tkachuk injured going in, Barkov out for the season. The Florida Panthers, the odds-on favorite at plus 750 to three-peat. Then the Edmonton Oilers at plus 800. Uncertainty around Connor McDavid, still yet to sign the contract here at recording. And then the Dallas Stars, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colorado Avalanche, and then the Vegas Golden Knights. Mike, I'll go to you first. What are you thinking of these odds?
I as much as I think the Panthers are the team to repeat or the team to three-peat, actually, they'd be the first one to do that since the Islanders of the 80s, which was kind of cool. They're not. This is the biggest concern because you're losing Barkov, and people are saying, oh, maybe they'll put him on IR and bring him back for the playoffs and he'll be ready. He has an ACL tear, and even if he is healthy, he's not going to be an 100% version of Barkov. And he's the type of injury that you're like, I actually want to back off on them for that. Not only that alone, but I don't like the odds as much as they're the favorites. I don't think you're getting good money with them because Barkov's out, Kachuk's out to start the season, so they're going to be chasing in the standings a bit. They don't care if they're the best team in the Atlantic Division. As long as they get in, they're fine. And obviously they have the depth where Anton Lundell is going to move up to the second line, so they're going to be fine as a team overall, and Bill Zito is going to make a move, their GM. But I don't think you're getting good money with them. I don't think you're getting the best money. And in the playoffs, when you need a player like Barkov there, they won't have him. They maybe can make a trade where you can get a player who's good, but not that same type of two-way center, defensive center. So I like teams that are getting better odds that are out there, like the Avalanche, the Stars. Those are the type of teams I'm looking at early on when I'm looking at odds. And I like those type of teams that not only are good now, but have room to make a move, have room to make that splash that everyone's thinking the Panthers are going to make that Brad Marchand type of trade again, which they might, but another team to monitor. Maybe the Stars don't put it past them. They were the team that made a big splash last year. So maybe they're up to something again. So that's where I'm looking at early on when it comes to the odds for Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
Winner.
so if you guys want to look at the Dallas Stars, plus 900 for them to take the cup, the Colorado Avalanche coming in at plus 950. But Terry, I know you're high on this Florida team with or without Barkov making it back into that lineup for the playoffs. Do you think they can hoist that cup again?
I do. I said it preseason that I thought Florida was going to three-peat. And the huge thing about, like Mike was talking about the odds. And Joe, you were talking about the odds with Florida being the favorite. They are on FanDuel, but with NHL futures, if you look at different books, the odds are going to vary greatly on a lot of these plays. Like there's a couple of the player props I'm going to mention later that are plus money on one book and are like minus 140 on another. So you really have to look at the books that are available to you and shop your lines, because Florida on DraftKings is actually the 7th ranked team at plus 1,100 to win the cup. So definitely shop your lines here when looking for future bets. Yes, not having Tkachuk, they think maybe around Christmas time, around that area. Mm-hmm. That is going to hurt the Panthers maybe in the short term a little bit on offense. And then, of course, losing Barkov in the preseason was just absolutely awful. But that's why we're getting better odds now than we were getting, obviously, before Barkov's injury. Bill Zito is a fantastic general manager. He was not supposed to be able to keep Bennett, Ekblad, and Marchand, and he was able to keep all three. I think he's going to pull the trigger on a trade if it's determined that Barkov's not going to be able to come back for the playoffs, there are new rules now with a playoff salary cap. So they're going, if he is not able to come back for the playoffs, then I do believe Florida is going to go out and make a trade, a very deep lineup overall, this Florida Panthers team. So heading into the season, I like them to complete the three-peat.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for liking them for the three-peat. You look at the players still on the ice, and anytime all of those core were brought back, Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, you have the playmakers out there, you have the goaltending, and I do think this team has every ability to at least make a deep run. With that, that takes us into the Eastern Conference. You guys, we're going to look at the Eastern Conference next. We're going to look at all the awards or all the markets here in the Eastern Conference, and we'll move on to that Western Conference as well. But looking at the odds in the Eastern Conference, the Florida Panthers are the odds-on favorite to take the Eastern Conference over on FanDuel. Like Terry said, do shop those books, shop those lines. The Carolina Hurricanes, probably the easiest path to take the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, out of the Metro. They're plus 460 in the second spot. The Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 550. The New Jersey Devils, which I tell you, if Jack Hughes can stay healthy, this team can stay healthy, have every ability in the Eastern Conference. They're plus 650. The Toronto Maple Leafs at plus 800, and the New York Rangers coming in at 1,100. It just goes on from there. Terry, I'm going to go to you first in this one. Who are you liking? What's your favorite bet coming out of the Eastern Conference?
When it comes to teams to win the conference?
You can either look at teams to win the conference or just a team that you're really high on. Maybe you've got a team total. Maybe you've got a player in there. Just what are you liking out of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, for me, like a lot of people do like to bet the teams to win the conference and that type of thing. I would more look at that later on in the season, personally. Yeah. However, there are some team futures that I'm looking at here. And I hate to start with a negative one, especially to this fan base, because they have been through it for a long time. But I'm sorry, Buffalo Sabres fans. The pain is going to continue here. Buffalo under 85.5 points, minus 110. The Sabres have done this in 12 of their last 13 seasons. They've gone under 84.5 points. They are an incredibly tough division in the Atlantic Division with a lot of good teams. Detroit, Montreal, Ottawa, those are all teams that are on the upswing. The Sabres traded away Peterka. Yes, I love Josh Doan. I think he's going to be a great player for them long term. And Michael Kesselring, I think that's a good addition on defense. But that is not going to help them this season be better than they would have been with Peterka. So very tough division with a lot of teams on the upswing. This Buffalo Sabres team, I think it's going to be 15 seasons or 16 seasons. I'm not exactly sure that they have missed the playoffs. I think they continue that streak this year.
It's such a struggle for this team. They've got such hot playmakers like Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, and you'd hope they would be able to get it together and be able to break that losing streak, not being able to make the playoffs. But Mike, what are you looking at when you look at the Eastern Conference? What is your favorite bet? Maybe you got a team total to the over, maybe to the under, like Terry's bringing, or you're liking someone for an award.
Yeah, that's a good bet right there. The Sabres under, and it's been 14 years, and it's going to be I think it's going to be 15. Where, yeah, they've been an organizational mess, like from the top down. Starts with ownership, which we could get. We don't have enough time to dive into the Sabres failures, so
that could be a 3-hour show itself.
Yeah, it could be even longer. It could be books on their failures, but I digress. I'll take another, but there's a few bets that you mentioned, which teams could win the Eastern Conference. There are two that you mentioned that actually are good odds I like, even though I don't think they're going to win it, or the Devils and the Maple Leafs. That you mentioned them back to back, and you're getting good odds, good value for that. Real quickly, I just like the Devils. It's not only if Jack Hughes stays healthy and Nico Heischer's good and Timo Meyer's who's there, is good. And Luke Hughes now is under contract, which is a big sigh of relief for Devils fans that he's there and you have the defense there. It's that they added some good depth pieces like Connor Brown, who's a do-it-all bottom six type of forward. But anyway, so they're getting good odds. And then the Maple Leafs, everyone of course backs off on them because they haven't won the cup since 1967. But those are good value odds. I think a lot of teams in that Atlantic division will give you good odds because the Panthers are the heavy favorites, and everyone's thinking the Panthers are going to beat them. So that's why you get better odds with the other Atlantic teams. But one bet to zero in on, another under bet, just I guess we're being a little cynical to start this, is the under on the Penguins point total, which it's a low total, 76.5. But if you're looking at teams that might be in that bottom 5 standings race or one of those worst teams in the NHL, they're one of the teams you have to circle in on. And they're one of the teams that if you're asking, is anyone going to sell at the deadline? Anyone going to trade away a bunch of pieces or even a few players? But everyone, of course, is talking about Sidney Crosby as much as he likes to deny it or doesn't like talking about it. He's the big player that might be traded and have to watch out for that. There's all these moving parts there, and the Penguins, there's a chance that they have the worst record in the NHL. For reference, the Sharks were in that 50-point range last season. They had the worst record. So if you're looking at a team that is going to have a terrible season, they're the team to look at. And the other thing to really monitor with this is be patient with this bet because obviously the losses are going to start piling in, but wait until after the Olympics because that's when you could circle as a time when Sidney Crosby might get traded. Is like after the Olympics happen and presumably Canada wins gold, although we can get to futures with that maybe sometime in the future, but we'll not dive into that. But then he'll say to the front office, okay, now I maybe want to play for a contender. But it's a bet that you're probably going to sweat out, but I like the Penguins under.
Ooh, I feel for Sidney Crosby. I really do. I don't think we're actually going to see him moving on, but are we breaking up a little bit, you guys? I just saw some glitches. Apologies for that. If we were breaking up there, but I feel for Sidney Crosby. I don't think he wants to move on, but could we see it? Like, that's the biggest question mark.
I mean, the question for him is, does he want to be loyal or does he want to end his career on a cup contender? And I don't think that's happening if he plays with the Penguins. So does he want to end his career with a team that's on the rise, that's going to contend for a cup? And I think there's a good chance that he wants to do that after missing the playoffs 3 years in a row.
Yeah, disappointing for Sidney Crosby for sure. Terry, let's get into what you're liking as well in the Eastern Conference. Couple more bets from you. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I have 6 more. I know a lot of future bets, so I'll split them into 2 groups of 3.
Perfect.
3 are involved in one team. And the team that is favored to be the team that gets Sidney Crosby if he does decide to leave Pittsburgh is the Montreal Canadiens. And I absolutely love this Montreal team this year. Plus 105 to make the playoffs. They did make the playoffs last year. Obviously adding Noah Dobson in the offseason. You're getting Lane Hudson in his second year. And, of course, Ivan Demidov, who's the favorite to win the Calder Trophy this year. Montreal is going to be a very good team. The only question marks I have with them a little bit is with the goaltending. But I like the defense. I really like the forward group overall. So I like Montreal to make the playoffs this season.
I like where you're going with that. I trust in Sam Montague, though. We've seen some really good games out of him, and I do think he has that ability. And we know teams come into Montreal, they do have those struggles there. And if he can just give us what we see in those glimpses of those games where he completely stands on his head for, even 60, well, he's not going to play 60 games, but 50 of those games, definitely could see it happen.
To your point with Montreal, why I'm high on them, not just Montembeault, they have a young goaltender there, Jakub Dobes, who's also looked very good last season, and the defense is going to be better. They got Noah Dobson, and as much as people ridiculed his play defensively, but Lane Hudson's a good a good two-way player. They have the defense that's there. And why I like that bet and why I would like any bet with Montreal, by the way, is they have the pieces to make a splash. We talked about Sidney Crosby earlier, where he would go, and why they're favorites is because they have a lot of prospects in their system. And now that they have young NHLers on their team, they're looking to move some of them, and they will, I think. That's why I like that bet.
Okay, Terry, I know you're sticking with Montreal here. You're looking at Cole Caulfield. How are you looking at Cole Caulfield here?
Yeah, I call him Goal Caulfield on my show, and that's because he scores a ton of goals. This is an anytime goal prop that I'm going to be betting a ton this season because I think he racks up the goals. 37 goals last year. Through his last 4 seasons, he has been increasing his goal total each year. He had 37, as I said, last year. You're getting 40-plus goals at plus 490, which is just fantastic value here for Cole Caulfield to score 40 goals. Was not expecting this value on a team that's really improving. That top line, Nick Suzuki, a great playmaker. Juraj Slafkovsky, a lot of Habs fans kind of wanting him to improve. I think he's going to take the next step this year. So that's a fantastic top line. Obviously, he's on the top power play as well. So I like him to rack up the goals here. Plus 490, great value. That is at FanDuel. And then also at FanDuel, I like Lane Hutson to have 70-plus points this season. 66 points last year in his first season. 5 points in 5 playoff games as well. We're just scratching the surface, I think, at what Lane Hutson is capable of. So for him to get 70-plus points this season, it's plus 230. I think there's great value there with that as well.
Definitely great value with Lane Hutson. So you guys, for Terry for Montreal, it's Montreal to make the playoffs at plus 105. Cole Caulfield, 40-plus goals at plus 490. Gotta love that plus money. And Lane Hutson at 70-plus points at plus 230. Mike was liking Montreal as well. Mike, where else are we going to go in the Eastern Conference? What other teams are you circling or players?
Yeah, I'm also going to circle a team in the Eastern Conference just to focus on a few bets there, and that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. And there's a few individual bets there, but also some team bets to make the playoffs at plus 210. Like Montreal, goaltending's a question mark, and more so than Montreal because they have Jet Greaves, who they're kind of hoping becomes the backup or split starts with Elvis Merzlikins, who has proven over his career he's a good 1B goaltender. He can't be relied on as your number one starter. So they need a 40 game out of 82 games. They need like a 41-41 split from the two. And you're really playing a dangerous game when you're relying on those two. At the same time, I like the Blue Jackets a lot. They were close to the playoffs last season, where obviously they're playing a little bit more motivated, but they're a team on the rise, and they're a young team on the rise where Zach Werenski finally looked like a Norris Trophy caliber defenseman. He actually was a finalist last season. Cale Makar won the trophy, but that's another good one to monitor with that in mind, because I think he takes another step forward. People wondering whether last season was a fluke or not, but he's one of those players that the Blue Jackets will use in all situations, and it's going to help them win a lot of games because he could single-handedly take over games the same way Cale Makar does in Colorado, the same way Quinn Hughes does in Vancouver. He's one of those elite defensemen that they can lean on, and they will. And you look at a lot of the pieces, Kirill Marchenko, who's a young scorer on the wing there. They have Adam Fantilli, which leads to another prop that I have, which is the plus over 40 goals. He scored 31 last season. Last season was his second in the NHL, and I think he's one of those players that becomes one of the elite goal scorers in the NHL, especially this season. And he's going to have help from the point with Zach Werenski there. And you're getting a lot of these good bets. I mean, this is banking on the Blue Jackets having a great season and taking that step forward. But there's a good chance they finish third in the Metro Division. And if they do, with all this in mind, Werenski's going to be in the Norris conversation. Fantilli's going to have a great season offensively, and they're going to be one of these teams that's going to be exciting to watch, and it's going to be fun to watch them. And I guess, to circle back to why one of the other good causes for the Blue Jackets is don't put it past their general manager, Don Waddell, to make a good move, to make a big move, because he may not make that splash, but last season, he quietly got Dante Fabro off waivers, and that move, he was a stay-at-home defenseman, that unlocked Zach Werenski's game. So don't put it past him to make a big move, and for the Blue Jackets to be in that playoff conversation at plus 210, those are good odds to make it. So all Blue Jackets bets, I probably jinxed them just now, but I'm high on this team. I really think they're one of the teams that you're getting good value from them, and they can make some noise.
I love the Columbus Blue Jackets here to make the playoffs. Plus 210, as well as Adam Fantilli for 40+ goals at plus 650. Great bets there, Mike. Terry, I have to ask, do you think Monty can stay healthy this season to help out the Columbus Blue Jackets get there?
I hope so, because he plays on a line with one of the players that I'm about to give you a player prop as well. I got to say, I agree with Mike too. So he agrees with me about Montreal making the playoffs. I agree with him about this Columbus team. Dean Evison, the head coach for the Columbus Blue Jackets, was the head coach for the Minnesota Wild, the team I follow. So I know him very well. He's a great regular season coach. He's going to get the best out of his players in the regular season. And we saw that last year with Columbus taking a big step up and trying to be close to the playoffs there last year. I think they're going to be close again. There's great value with them to make the playoffs. And you asked about Monahan. I hope he stays healthy because he has a ton of chemistry with Kirill Marchenko. Now, people call him Kirill the Thrill. I have to say there's only one Kirill the Thrill. He's in Minnesota. But I love Marchenko as well. 30+ goals, plus 190 here. He had 31 goals last year in 79 games played. This Blue Jackets team, like Mike said, is very young, and they have a lot of good young forwards who are still developing and are still going to get better and better. And when you look at that, there's just so many opportunities for the number one goal scorer on this team to get 30+ goals at plus 190. And there's another player that we haven't mentioned yet for Columbus, Kent Johnson. Money maker for me last year, Kent Johnson, to get a point. A lot of the time was plus 10, plus 120. He went on, I think, a 16-game point streak. And I was betting him night after night at plus money to get a point, and he kept on cashing. Huge money maker for me last year. Projected to be on the third line. I think he's going to move up and down, but there's a ton of value with Kent Johnson here. Only to 60+ points at plus 135. He had 57 last year in 68 games played. If he stays healthy, he plays a full season, he's definitely going to surpass this 60+ points. So I like him here. And then to finish off the Eastern Conference, one other team, the Philadelphia Flyers, Matvei Mishkov, the young Russian. Great season for him last year with the Flyers. 26 goals, 37 assists for 63 points in 80 games played. Tortorella's not there anymore. So we're going to see Mishkov's offense improve greatly without having Tortorella there trying to focus more on the defense style. Mishkov can do what he does best, and that's rack up the points. So 70+ points for him, plus 100 is my other bet for the Eastern Conference.
Nicely done. Mike, did you have anything else left in the Eastern Conference before we move on to the Western?
Well, those were good. Those were good odds. I like the Michkov one. I would actually, if you could take alternate for 80 points, where you say he's a point per game player, I would try to look for that because he's one of those players that he had a great season. He was 4th in Calder Trophy voting, which was for Rookie of the Year. He was 4th in that. He had a great season, and he had it with ice time, if you look at it, which was like middle, like it wasn't given top line ice time that you'd give for a top line player. Expect Rick Tocchet to give him that, and he's going to be input in all situations. The power play, he's going to pile up the points. But I also like the Flyers in general. They're over under on points, which I think is like, I believe you're getting 86.5 on their total for points, or 84. Yeah, even better. Was wondering which number it was, but yeah, it's 84, which is Again, like in the bottom, middle, but you're getting good. That's a good total for them because they're a team that's on the rise. They, along with Michkov, have a lot of young prospects there. Some who will be on the NHL roster and maybe at the beginning of the season. Some will be mid-season on the roster, but they're a team. Rick Tockett's a good coach who gets the most not only out of his rosters but out of young players. Goaltending, which is one of the interesting things. Again, we're talking about goaltending, which is, it was a mess last season. It was actually the worst goaltending in the NHL. So you could look at that and say, all right, that can let them down again. At the same time, it was so bad to the point where it has to be better. When they got Dan
Vladar. It's going to be better. They stole my goaltender, Mike.
Dan Vladar. I didn't know if Calgary missed him so much, but it turns out they do as a backup. I mean, he's a good backup. And that's the thing. They need at least baseline goaltending, which Vladar as a backup is that. I mean, Samuel Urson as a starter, I mean, that's probably not what you're looking for, but at least that's going to raise your floor. They finished last place last season. I mean, partially because they fell apart after the trade deadline. John Tortorella left, and I mean, he was done also, checked out, all that stuff. But you're getting good. They're going to be better by default, and they're a team that they're going to sneak up and pile up the points. I think they're a sleeper playoff team as well, but I think they'll come up just short in the playoff picture. But points 84 is a good number to hone in on for them.
Yeah, it definitely is. Improvements out there in the goal. In net, it will help this team, and we know they have some young talent out there. That takes us into the Western Conference, and we're talking about goaltenders, and that's the biggest question mark for the team that is the odds-on favorite to take the Western Conference over on FanDuel. That's the Edmonton Oilers at plus 230. You look at the Edmonton Oilers here. Goaltending has been their Achilles heel. Connor Ingram picked up for this team. It's just a struggle here with the Edmonton Oilers and what we're seeing. So getting Connor Ingram, does that really move the needle for you, Terry, from Utah over? Because for me, it's like a Skinner, right? Like Ingram, Skinner, they're in the same bag. But before I let you take the floor with that, the Dallas Stars are the second favorite in the Western Conference at plus 450. The Vegas Golden Knights at plus 490. Colorado at plus 500. The Winnipeg Jets at plus 900. We know how strong the Winnipeg Jets looked last year until they hit the playoffs. And then we have the LA Kings at plus 1100. And all the way at the very bottom of the Western Conference is Chicago, the Blackhawks there. So what are your thoughts here, Terry?
Well, I don't think Ingram is going to move the needle with this Edmonton Oilers team. And the Oilers, you have Connor McDavid, you have Leon Draisaitl, you have Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who doesn't get talked about because you have Draisaitl and McDavid, but it's still a very good player. If only you could get a goalie. And it's not like we've only been talking about this for a year or two. This has been like 10 plus years in Edmonton that people have been saying, go and get a goalie. And Connor Ingram can play very well when he's on the ice, but there's concerns there with him missing time, of course, for different reasons, but I won't get into that. I don't think that's going to really move the needle for this Oilers team. I think they're going to score a ton of goals, but when it comes down to it, they don't have the goaltending. Another team that's going to score a ton of goals is the Vegas Golden Knights, getting Mitch Marner. They're obviously the Western Conference favorites at DraftKings. They're going to score a ton of goals, but they have goaltending question marks as well. And when you look at the NHL, if you look at question marks for each team, most of the time it's going to be goaltenders where the question marks are. But there's one team in the Western Conference that I don't have any goaltending questions with, and that is the Dallas Stars. So if you were asking me for a Western Conference winner, I would go with the Dallas Stars at plus 475. But I like them to win the Central Division. Plus 205 for the Dallas Stars. I like this roster from top to bottom more than I like the Colorado Avalanche. You mentioned the Winnipeg Jets, Joe. They our team, I think, is going to take a step back this year. It's going to be very hard to replicate what they did last year. But they've got some injury question marks down the middle. Jonathan Taves, they're hoping can be that second line center. He hasn't played hockey in a long time. So I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to take a step back. The Avalanche are going to be in the mix. I do agree with
always,
that.
right?
Yeah.
They're always in the mix. You got Cale Makar, you got Nathan McKinnon, you got so much talent there with Colorado. But you're right. The Dallas Stars, you look at that forward unit, that defense, goaltending.
Yeah, and Jake Ottinger has been so absolutely consistent for the Dallas Stars. That's the main reason why I like them here to win the division. Jake Ottinger's worst season was 35, 14, and 4 is his record with a 2.72 goals against average and a 905 save percentage. Those are the worst numbers of his career, which he did in 23-24. I think there are a lot of goaltenders that would love to have numbers like that, to be their best numbers of their career, let alone their worst. So,
Harry,
great goaltender.
Yeah, I tell you, when he came to Calgary, right, when he was with the Dallas Stars in Calgary, played a couple years ago, when his contract was kind of open there, my biggest fear was Edmonton was going to pick him up. If Edmonton had picked up Jake Ottinger, I think we would have been looking at an Edmonton Oilers team that could have taken the cup last year. They could have taken it from Florida with a goaltender like Jake Ottinger. So I think you're on the money with Dallas to win the Central. Anything else with this Dallas team before we move on to Mike?
Yes. Two other props on the same player here. You can either take 70 plus points or you can take 80 plus points. It's really up to you. Wyatt Johnston. Now, he can be on the third line. He can be on the second line. He really moves all around the lineup for this Dallas Stars team. He has played 82 games in 3 consecutive seasons. He's played a full season. And when you're looking at betting future props for a player, you really want a guy who has been healthy consistently, and that's been Johnston. First season, he had 41 points, 65 points in his second season, and 71 points last year. So you can go with the 70 points at minus 110, or you can go with 80 plus points at plus 250. Better value there with 80 plus points. Again, he's still a player that's coming into his own. Obviously has a long-term contract, so you don't have to worry about that. When is he going to leave Dallas? He's locked in here, so I like him to have a great season here for Dallas. And you can look at 70 plus or 80 plus points. It's up to you here.
I love that plus money on 80 plus points. He is always a bet on for me. His ability to make those clutch plays, especially, you look at overtime, you look at that third period. You also look at him and what he's able to do when he makes the playoffs, and Wyatt Johnston, someone you definitely want to have circled. Mike, let's jump over to you. What are you liking for your next bet in the Western Conference?
What's so funny is when as Terry was going on, I'm like taking notes in my head of like each team being like, let me add that. But there's so many things he said, and I agree with. The big one that he just said that I agree with is Wyatt Johnston. One of my favorite ones is not his points, but his goal total, which you can get plus 40 goals at plus 600 odds. I like those odds a lot. He hasn't hit 40 goals yet, but he's only been in the league for 3 seasons. I believe he's turning 22 this season, his age 22 season. So he's still he's still not even entering his prime yet, where a lot of these skaters enter their prime around 24, 25. He's starting to hit his stride as a young player in the NHL, but he's one of the best young goal scorers in this league. And you watch, he's hit 30 goals in, I believe, each of the past 3 seasons, or certainly 2 of the past 3. He's hit 30 goal mark. And he's already at 88 in his career, so he's one of the players that could sneak up on you and have a bunch of goals at some point in his career. But anyway, for this season, I think this is the season he goes off. And he's got a lot of that supporting cast around him to make it happen. Jason Robertson's status is a little bit up in the air because I believe he's an RFA at the end of the season. So there's kind of like this unknown about whether he's going to be traded or what's going to happen there. And he's a big playmaker in that Stars top six, but Mikko Rantanen's there now, and he's there for a full season, which for sleeper odds on the Hart Trophy, maybe look at that because Mikko Rantanen could go off this season. You saw what he could do in a short spurt last season. So I like Rantanen. Him and Rantanen could be a good duo, or Wyatt Johnson centering a Rantanen line, and they're just working off each other. But this is the season I think he goes off and gets 40 goals. I don't know other Western Conference bets. There's a few that come to mind, but I'll stick with the team that I'm sure you both disagree with. But one that I'm probably one of the outliers, but I think you're getting great odds, and I think they'll do well, is the Calgary Flames at plus 270 to make the playoffs. And what's interesting about this one is you look at the Pacific Division, which is kind of in a unique spot. You've got a few teams on the rise, like the Anaheim Ducks, which are a team that everyone is high on. Joel Quenneville, by the way, is one of the favorites to win the Jack Adams, so don't bet on him because he's the favorite. But there's a lot of teams that are people are high on in that division that are rebuilding, that are on the rise. The Flames were tied point-wise with the St. Louis Blues to make the playoffs at 96 points last season. So the Blues had the tiebreaker, so the Blues got in, the Flames didn't. But they were that close. And you can look at glass half full, glass half empty with their offense. They scored 2.6 goals per game, which, by the way, was the fourth worst in the NHL. Terrible on offense. You could say that things can't get worse on offense, or their offense is going to progress to the mean, not regress to the mean, because that would mean they got worse. They're going to get better. And you look at Dustin Wolf, who was one of the best goaltenders. He finished second in Calder Trophy voting last season. He could be one of the Vezina finalists this season. He's one of the elite goaltenders in the NHL. He could actually even fight for a USA spot if Connor Hellebuck wasn't there and Jake Ottinger wasn't on the USA goaltending, because it's a stacked goaltending unit, to say the least. But Dustin Wolf is great. The defense, even with Rasmus Anderson on the trade block, is good. You have Zane Parekh, who's a good Calder Trophy bet if you want to place bets on there. But I see this team as taking that next step and being in the playoffs, maybe even third in the Pacific Division, with a Kings team that could be on the decline. The Golden Knights and Oilers have their issues, so it's going to be a lot closer in the division. And they're the type of team that reminds me, just one last thing on the Flames, because I'm talking a lot about a team that probably people aren't talking a lot about, but they look like the next version of the Winnipeg Jets, where they don't have star power in their forward unit or star power even on their defense per se. But it doesn't matter when you have one of the best goaltenders in the league where there aren't a lot of great goaltenders. The Jets are like that, where the Jets don't have necessarily a star power, but they have the best goaltender in the game, who single-handedly takes over games. So I like the Flames. You're getting great odds at plus 270. I know I'm talking a lot about them, so I'm sure you both can talk about why you're not high on them. But that's my team that I'm circling, saying you're getting great odds for a team and to maybe sneak into the playoffs.
Well, I hope you're right there. As a Calgary Flames fan, I would love to see it. They overperformed last season from all expectations. So what's saying they can't now? Again, this season, Jonathan Huberdeau is going to have to get healthy and be able to hit that ice running. And then I'm looking for more out of Morgan Frost coming over from the Flyers last year. So hopefully he's able to step up and make more of a contribution. Such young talent over there with the Calgary Flames. We'll see what they have, but I do think it's vital. The Dustin Wolfie stays 100% solid in net. If he can replicate his performance from last season, I do think he should be able to get there. But excuse my phone. I apologize for that. Terry, is there anything else that you're looking at in the Western Conference?
Chicago. I have Chicago as the team that I have to finish last in the entire NHL, which is plus 200. Finished second last year. The only team that was worse than them was the San Jose Sharks. But this San Jose Sharks team, which I'll get to in a few minutes as well, is a team that is filled with young talent. Now, I know what you're saying. People are saying that are going to say in the chat. I'm sure some angry Blackhawks fans will get after me in the chat, but I know you have a lot of young talent too. It's just the Chicago Blackhawks don't have a lot of that young talent in the roster or scheduled to be playing on the roster. Throughout the year, guys might come up. They might bring guys up. But when I look at the Chicago roster, it's Connor Bedard. And then you've got some old veterans as well, guys that should be on the fourth line, that shouldn't be playing on the second, third line. Yes, they got Frank Nazar as well, another young player who's probably going to be a very good player. Scheduled to be on the second line. Now, of course, that might have changed or might change before the season starts. But that's not enough.
Well,
in my
thoughts. The big thing with Nazar is that he's a center and Bedard is a center. And this question is still whether Bedard plays center or not, where they move him to the wing. Maybe they play Nazar as the center and Bedard on the wing on the same line. But it's so interesting. You're talking about them being the worst team. And the thing is, I'm thinking about, as you're talking about, I'm like, they can't be worse than last season. Last season, the issue was they brought in all these veterans and then they got worse because you bring these veterans who are well past their prime, who are not going to get you to the playoffs, and they end up taking a big step back because of that. And the other issue I have with them is, I mean, I agree. I actually don't agree with the Chicago Blackhawks to be the worst, but I don't agree that they're going to get better, which is, can their prospects, the elite prospects that they have, aside from Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, are going to be on the roster, are Kevin Korchinski, who you don't know if he's going to be there. They have Artem Levshinov. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I don't know. They have Anton Lundell. These players are not going to be on the roster this season. So it's not getting better for them. The only reason I don't like that bet is because I think there's it's going to be a tight race, which is like people are talking about tank for Gavin McKenna or tank for the top 5 picks or tank for the number 1 pick. There's a lot of teams that if you're forecasting, I could see being really bad this season. And I mean, the Sharks, people are talking about they're going to take a step forward. Like maybe the Sharks who don't have a number 1 defenseman, maybe they're going to be in the race for a number 1 defenseman at some point. The teams that will sell at the deadline, I said the Penguins earlier, but the Sabres might. The Boston Bruins are another team maybe to keep in mind. And then there's one team that I'm actually really down on, which is the Seattle Kraken, who you look at them and you're like, well, what do I like about them? And there's not much to like there either. So the reason why I don't like that worst bet is because there's a lot of teams that feel like they could be in that race. I don't know what does that kind of still leave you confident that Chicago is going to be the worst team, or do you kind of still?
Well, it is plus 200 for a reason. But I am pretty confident that Chicago finishes last. Just because, and you mentioned Seattle, everyone is so down on Seattle, and I can understand why after their season last year. But when I look, they don't have that star power, but they have depth. In my opinion, they've got depth throughout the lineup. So I don't think Seattle is going to be that bad. San Jose, watch out. I'll get to them in a second. But Chicago to finish with the least points is plus 200. Another bet that I like here in the Central Division is Matt Boldy to score 40-plus goals, plus 800 at DraftKings. Great value there with Matt Boldy. With the Wild heading into the season, the big question mark was going to be Kirill Kaprizov. It was reported he turned down a deal that would have made him the highest paid player in the NHL, $16 million per year. And there was reports he turned that down, a lot of drama going on with that. Well, a few days ago, Kaprizov signed an 8-year extension with the Wild at $17 million per year. So he is the highest paid player in the NHL. Now that distraction is gone, which is huge for this Wild team. Matt Boldy obviously plays on the line with Kaprizov. I think Boldy's going to take off this year. I think this is going to be the best season of his career. 40-plus goals, plus 800. There's so much value there with that one. 2 more quickly, and then I'll mention the other 3 at the end. I've got so many props. I know. I've got
You
so
have
many
a
bets here.
ton. And I want to say thank you so much for holding down the fort there, because my power blinked on and off, which meant my computer had to reboot. So apologies, you guys, for disappearing on you for a good minute there.
Yeah, I hope we bought some
technology things happen, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the other two plays I have here are on the same player, Dylan Guenther for the Utah Mammoth. Guenther, 70 plus points is plus 195, 30 plus goals, plus 115. Guenther last year, 27 goals and 33 assists for 60 points. He only played in 70 games last year, so he did have some injury. I was on his point prop at 54.5 last year. And despite only playing 70 games, missing 12 games, he still cashed, getting that 60 points. This guy is a goal scorer. I love him to score 30 goals here, and then to increase his point total. 60 last year. I think he could get 10 more points this year. So that's plus 195. Watch out for the Utah Mammoth. They're a team that's on the rise as well.
Yeah, lots of young talent over there for Utah. What else are you looking at, Mike, for yourself?
It's funny. I think I went through most, if not all, of the bets. I didn't have as many player props. I didn't dive into them. There's some teams that I've been high on / am high on. Although what's funny is with Utah is I actually would I would fade Utah a bit, which because everyone's high on them, and I would say to bet on them to not make the playoffs. I don't have the odds in front of me for that, but they're a team that everyone's buying in on because they're a rebuilding team that's taking those steps forward, just like the Ducks that everyone's saying that they're going to take those next steps forward. And with Utah, there's actually two problems with them now. It used to just be one I had, but they're my Red Wings of the West, which is not a compliment. Usually it would be, but it's not, in the sense that they've got a lot of, in baseball terms, singles and doubles when they should be hitting home runs, where their star players or their core players to build around are good players. They're not great players to take over games. Logan Cooley is that type of player, actually. So like a little preference there, but Clayton Keller is a good player, but he's not that star player. When you look at some of the other teams that have core players that are leading their roster, you look at the Oilers, McDavid and Draisaitl, but even in Vegas where Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner, that type of tier where you have those star players. And Utah, I don't see that from that young core. And the other issue, which we talked about Connor Ingram earlier, but Utah still didn't have goaltending. They rolled out Karel Vejmelka for like 60, 70. They just rolled him out every night, but they don't have an answer as their backup, and that's just still an issue for them. They're actually, if you wanted to bet, I don't know if you can bet for first coach to be fired. I think there are some places that you actually could find those odds, but first coach to be fired, Andre Tourigny could be the coach to watch there. It's a bet you're kind of like, you're a little bit of you have to have a twisted mind to be betting on the coach to be fired first, but I think you can bet on that. And he would be the coach that either him or the other name is Jim Hiller for the Los Angeles Kings, where if a team gets off to a slow start and they have a high bar, which these teams do, expect the coaching change to happen and happen fast. We've seen it happen in recent seasons. There's no reason to believe it can't happen again.
Yeah, coaches do definitely change over really fast in the NHL. So anything can happen out there. You guys, I want to give a couple of the players that I'm really high on this upcoming season. I think Drake Batherson can make that step up. 30 plus goals coming in for him at plus 410, 28 goals last year with the Ottawa Senators. And the Ottawa Senators are a team that we always have high hopes for them making that push for the playoffs. We'll see what they're able to do this season, but I do think Drake Batherson will be a pivotal part. And then looking at Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils, I'm looking for him to really make that step up. Jack Hughes for 40 plus goals this season, coming in at plus 600, 100 plus points at plus 600 as well. If you're going to take one over the other, I'd look at the 100 plus points. He'll become the first New Jersey Devil to be able to hit 100 points if he's able to get there this season. It definitely is a long shot. We got the concerns over his shoulder, but if he can stay healthy this season, I think he has every ability to run it up. I love the New Jersey Devils, what they bring, that fast-paced offense out there. You got Jacob Markstrom in net. I do think this is a team definitely to watch this season. And if you're not like a big hockey fan, This is one of those exciting teams normally to watch. It's not like the Carolina Hurricanes that, go out there, play really defensive hockey that people just get bored with sometimes. And I know Carolina last year were able to get those goals in certain situations, especially out there. Was it last year on the road or at home because they flipped, right? Was it home last year or road last year? And the year before it was vice versa.
Well, for road for, I'm sorry, what was
For
it?
the goals for Carolina. Carolina last year, road goals or home goals? Because one or the other, they couldn't score, and the year before it was the opposite. So drawing a blank on my Carolina goal scoring there.
I remember that being a split or not, but I do. The big thing with the Hurricanes is that they're such a possession-based team that they do become, you talk about boring to watch, where they'll take like 20 shots in a game, but they're all like high-quality shots. They just hold on to the puck and just like slowly drain the game away. So, but exciting teams to watch on the other end is the teams that do get a lot of shots. So if you're a fan that's casually watching, Florida, for example, has no problem getting 40 shots on net. So
absolutely.
Just to watch. And sometimes defense is fun. Like I like watching Brock Faber play defense, and I don't even root for the Wild, but he's a fun player to watch. Jacob Slavin's a fun defensive player to watch too. So just keep
I love those defensive teams. But we know some people just don't understand hockey. So if you're looking for that fast-paced team, the New Jersey Devils, the Tampa Bay Lightning, you've got some teams out there that can really fly in every single zone. Their ability to get through that neutral zone so quick and just move that puck up the ice is fantastic. A player I also think you should look at is Leo Carlsson. I don't have the graphic up for him. 80-plus points. I couldn't find any odds on him. For the Ducks, I do think Leo Carlsson's going to make that step up. We've got an exciting season on our hands. I can hardly wait for that puck to drop next week. We're going to have so much coming over here, you guys, on Picks and Parlays for your NHL picks. So make sure you do hit that like, hit that subscribe and notification button over here on YouTube. Make sure you go on over to picksandparlays.net. Check out Terry Edelmann and Mike Fink for their NHL packages. Those yearly packages are up for special right now. It's $7 Friday, you guys. So those $7 best bets up on the site as well in that Weekend Warrior package. If you're into football, you don't want to miss out on the Weekend Warrior package for Saturday and Sunday this week. Get your picks from your handicapper of choice in football for only $49. Both of these guys heavily involved in football as well. And you'll get Monday's picks from them on top of that for free. So you guys, all the best out there on the ice this season. I'm sure we'll be coming at you guys with a lot of stuff here, and we'll see you guys again to talk some more hockey.
Oh, I have 3 more props, Joe. 3 more props.
Quick. 3 more?
Yeah, that I didn't mention.
How many futures do you put in?
Well, I should be clear that I've not pulled the trigger on any of these yet.
Okay.
What I did is when I did my shows, I dwindled the list down. And now I'm giving you guys all the props that I'm considering, and I'm going to be pulling the trigger on a few days before. When I was looking at the Florida bets, I decided to wait. Barkov got injured. Obviously, it was a great idea to wait. But yeah, I really wanted to mention these last 3 because I kind of mentioned them when I was talking about Chicago being the worst team, that there's some players to look at for San Jose. One is Macklin Celebrini, 70-plus points, minus 115. Celebrini last year, 63 points in his first season, 70 games played. This guy, in my opinion, is going to be better than Connor Bedard. People are going to be comparing the two, being first overall picks back to back. They're going to be compared for a long time. I think Celebrini has the much better career overall. Will Smith, 60 plus points, plus 110, scheduled to be his line mate this season. 45 points and 74 games played in his first season last year, just scratching the surface with Will Smith. And then finally, this one will be 100% making my card for the Vegas Golden Knights, Pavel Dorofeyev, 30-plus goals,
That's a good
plus 140, 35 goals last season, 52 points in 82 games played. He is a sniper. He's a goal scorer. 35 last year. This Vegas Golden Knights team, while they're probably going to give up a ton of goals, they are going to score a ton, especially on that power play. So I really like Dorofeyev. One of my favorite plays here for the future bets.
I would add on Vegas is look out for Dorofeyev bets and Ivan Barbashev, because when you're looking for goals with those guys, they're playing on the same team as Mitch Marner and Jack Eichel, they're pass first players. They're playmakers. They're not going to shoot the puck a lot. So if Marner and Eichel on the same line, if Barbashev's on the other line, look for him to get a lot of good shots. It's just one bet to throw, just two names to keep in mind to check out as the season goes on, especially anytime goal scorer, which you could get on any night. Look out for those names.
Yeah, Vegas is going to be absolutely loaded. Terry, thanks for sneaking in those last three before we ended here. You guys, I hope you enjoyed your NHL preview. If you did, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and drop below who you're liking, what team futures you do have, so that we can come back on it. You can brag if you're able to get there. We've got awards that we can talk to. There's so much to jump into in the NHL, so make sure you chat in the comments below. We'll try to answer you back. But you guys, until next time, stay hot. Let's make some freaking money, and best of luck out there on the ice.